Okay, guys, here's the third video for this chapter. So after this video, I'm going to post this video. I'm also going to post the chapter 8 test and the word bank for the test. This is the last video in this chapter. So here it is. The previous chapter we talked about, or the previous section we talked about fraud, right? Fraud is lying on purpose for financial gain, right? It has to be a material fact. A person lies about a material fact, something important. Yeah, they make the lie with the intent that you're going to rely upon that person's word. You do rely upon that person's word, and you suffer some kind of loss, right? Those are part of the elements that you need to succeed in a successful lawsuit for fraud. There could be a situation where there's an innocent misrepresentation, right? So an innocent misrepresentation is you misrepresent something, you say something that's untrue about something, but you did it innocently, right? You made an honest mistake. You believed it to be true, but it was actually false when you said it. You're selling something that you think the brakes were just done on the car, and somebody asks you, are the brakes good? Somebody who wants to buy your car, how are the brakes? The brakes are excellent. The brakes on this car are fantastic. Well, they get it home, they drive it, the brakes were terrible. Whoever did the job did a terrible job fixing the brakes, all right, and the brakes failed. Well, you didn't know. You believed it to be true, right? So it's innocent misrepresentation, and it can happen. That's just one example. There's a millions of other examples that you can have, right? So when an innocent misrepresentation happens, all right, the law gives the injured party, the one who suffered the loss, the right to rescind the contract or end the contract. But because it was innocently made, they can't sue for damages. There can't be any other damages. In other words, you can't sue for pain and suffering, or they can't sue for loss of this or loss of that, right? All they can do is cancel the contract, get their money back. There can't be any additional lawsuit that happens for innocent misrepresentation, right? So the law gives the injured party the right to rescind a contract because of innocent misrepresentation. However, the injured party has no right to damages if the representation is innocently made. So that's innocent representation as opposed to fraud. There is another type of situation that there could appear to be a genuine agreement, but there isn't, because the agreement was made under duress, right? Under duress is you kind of physically force somebody to enter into a contract. You threaten them. If you don't enter into this contract, something terrible will happen to your family. Or if you don't enter this contract, then if you don't enter this unfavorable contract, then all the favorable contracts that you enter into, I'll no longer make available to you. That's called economic duress, right? So any kind of agreement that's made under duress is void or voidable. If there's actually physical force to force somebody into making a contract, it's duress. And it kind of works out like this. Threat of physical force, those contracts are voidable. If there's actual physical force, that contract is void, right? And we know the difference between voidable and void. Voidable, one party can get out of the contract, right? Void means it has no force, right? Economic duress is a threat to one person's business or income. And, sometimes this is corporate law. This happens in corporate law. Sometimes if somebody has too much power in a business, or one business has power over another business, and they force them into contracts that are unfavorable because of that power they have over them. It's economic duress. And then there's a lot of situations that that come up. If you Google economic duress, you'll have to kind of search for it if you wanted to find out a little bit more about it, because with the coronavirus, economic duress has taken on a different meaning businesses are under duress because of the virus. But it's different than the law of economic duress, where it's one person or another business is forcing another business to enter into an unfavorable contract, one way or another. So that's economic duress. Undue influence is a little bit different than duress. Falls kind of under the same category a little bit though. An undue influence is an unfair, improper, persuasive pressure exercised by a person in a relationship of trust with another person. All right. Sometimes you see this in wills, right? If somebody has a will, when they pass away, right, their money or their inheritance go to certain people, right? So a lot of lawsuits of undue influence are kind of happen this way. Like there's a rich millionaire, and he gets and he's 80 years old, and he gets a 28-year-old wife, and the wife forces him to cut everybody else out of the will. The will is a contract, right? And just all the money goes to her. So if all the family he had before, his kids, his ex-wife or whatever, cuts his kids out because the new wife forced him to, under her influence, whatever that influence may be, right? Force him to enter into an unfair or improper situation, leaving all the money to her instead of his kids, or something like that. And that happens quite a bit, and not quite a bit, but it does happen in certain situations. It could be anything. It could be a caregiver forcing an elderly person to leave all their money to them, as opposed to family, or opposed to maybe it is a family member watching over another an elderly family member, and cutting the brothers and sisters out of the will. And so a lot of undue influence happens in that kind of situation. Or it could be the person just didn't, or somebody who has a relationship of trust. They force that person into buying them things, or it's just an improper and unfair persuasive pressure, and it happens to the elderly more often than anybody else, really. And that ends the chapter. That's it. All right. I hope you guys are watching these videos. Particularly this chapter, because it's pretty vocab heavy, and the test is vocab heavy. And if you watch these videos and you've taken the time to do the note packet, you'll be more successful on the test if you use that note packet. All right, so I'm going to post the note packet, or I'm going to post the test and the word bank. So look for that as well. And thank you to those people who joined our Google Meet the other day. That was fun. Hope to see more of you in the future. All right, talk to you later. Bye.